Good afternoon and welcome to this hearing of the House Committee on Higher Education and Technology. It is Wednesday, February 16th at 2 p.m. and we are in State Capitol Conference Room 309. I'm going to ask Vice Chair Linda Clark to please go over the ground rules for this Zoom hearing, please.
Thank you, Chair. In order to allow as many people to testify as possible, there will be a 2-minute time limit per testifier. Please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify and after your testimony is complete. The Zoom chat function will allow you to chat with the technical staff only. Please use the chat only for technical issues. If you are disconnected unexpectedly, you may attempt to rejoin the meeting. If disconnected while presenting testimony, you may be allowed to continue if time permits. Please note the House is not responsible for any bad internet connections on the testifier's end. In the event of a network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision-making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Please avoid using any trademarked or copyrighted images. Please refrain from profanity or uncivil behavior. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from the hearing without the ability to rejoin. Chair.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. First on the agenda, we have House Bill 1711, appropriating funds to the UH for 3 additional Ctar positions on Kauai. And first up, we have from the University of Hawaii Ctar program, Nicholas Comerford.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. Nick Comerford. I'm the Dean of Ctar. We stand on our written testimony in support of the intent, but we have comments relative to positions. I'm available for questions if necessary. Thank you. Thank
you very much. Next, we have the Chair of the Board of State Board of Agriculture, Phyllis Shimabukuro-Geyser.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chairs, and members of the committee. Phyllis Shimabukuro-Geyser, Chairperson, Hawaii Department of Ag. We stand on our written testimony in support, and we defer to UH Ctar. Mahalo.
Thank you. From the Hawaii Farm Bureau, Brian Miyamoto.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Takayama, Vice Chair Clark, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We'll stand on a written testimony in support.
Thank you very much. Let's see, we have written comments from the Department of Budget and Finance, also written comments in support of the measure from the County of Kauai Office of Economic Development, Ponoholo Ranch, Ulupono Initiative, Hawaii Cattlemen, Hawaii Crop Improvement Association, a number of other individuals. Anyone else here? Anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 1711? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, let's open up to questions, members. Seeing none, I do have a question for Dean Comerford. You, of course, support the intent of the measure to create 3 positions. I need to ask you, what would be the estimated cost of these positions?
Thank you for the question, Chair. On extension positions, as an extension agent, a starting salary is probably in the order of $78,000 plus benefits, and so you'd multiply that by 3. Within the college, we normally provide some startup money on the order of $20,000 or $30,000, so they can get their program up and going, get computers and things like that.
Okay, math is not my strong suit, but I guess we're looking at slightly under $300,000 for startup funds first year.
Yeah, some 75, 21. Yeah, 300,000 would certainly be sufficient.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have any other questions, so let's move on to the next bill, which is House Bill 1717, appropriating funds to establish UH Foreign Agriculture Small Equipment Pilot Program, and requires a report to the legislature. And first up, Dean Comerford.
Thank you again, Chair, Vice Chair. This has been in the legislature for a couple of years. And we've had a hard time dealing with it. We support the intent because we do need equipment. The problem is what kind of equipment we need, how to bring it in, and the amount of work that would take. The college is not really in possession of that kind of expertise. I provide in the testimony a number of options of how we might be able to produce that, but also what it would actually take in terms of people and resources. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, Phyllis Shimabukuro-Geiser, Chairman of the Board of Agriculture.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. The department stands on its written testimony supporting the intent and deferring to your University of Hawaii, Ctar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see, we also have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau. Brian, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry, Chair. Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We'll stand on a written testimony in support. We do hear the concerns from Ctar, but it is something that our small farmers, which Hawaii is majority of small farmers, are looking for, and identify Japan, and maybe there's other countries that have maybe more size appropriate equipment. But we know that there are some challenges bringing it in as referenced in the bill with maybe some of the EPA emission standards. So we stand to work with Ctar if the legislature pleases to pass this bill and appropriate the funds for this pilot project, which we think can really benefit our small farmers here in Hawaii. Thank you for this opportunity. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see, we also have written comments from the Department of Budget and Finance, along with testimony and support from Ponoholo Ranch, Ulupono Initiative, Hawaii Cattlemen's, Hawaii Crop Improvement Association, HFNA, and several individuals. So anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 1717? Seeing none, members, any questions? And seeing none, I'll go back to Dean Comerford. And Dean, given the uncertainty of exactly how you will implement this measure, I realize there are some unsettled questions. What do you think would be the approximate budget you would be needing to implement this measure?
That's a good question, Representative. I can get back to you. I can take a look at what we've put down there and try to give you a sort of a crude estimate. The problem with the estimate is we don't exactly know how to accomplish it. One of our possibilities, I think, that hasn't been considered before would be to contract a company in Japan or in the area where the equipment is to adjust the equipment. The problem with bringing equipment in is it doesn't meet EPA standards. Something that's not engine driven probably isn't a problem. But when it's engine driven, they don't meet EPA standards. There also are free zones at the airports, in the airport areas on Hawaii where equipment could be brought in and it could be adjusted in there. So it wouldn't have to go through EPA qualifications to get on the island, but we would have to do all the work in that free economic zone. And it's not clear to us that a lot of that expertise exists right now. So that's what makes giving a budget somewhat difficult. But I can give you my best estimate by the end of the week if you wish, or by tomorrow. Whatever.
Thank you.
You set the time frame, I'll get you something.
Well, if you can get it to us by tomorrow, that would be helpful.
I'll get you something by tomorrow.
And again, it needs to be approximate for our money committee to consider should the bill.
Yes, sir. I'll do the normal engineering thing. I'll make an estimate, add 10%, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Let's see, seeing no other questions, let's move on to House Bill 1844, appropriating funds for Ctar to establish one full-time agriculture education coordinator position. And Dean Comerford, I believe you're first up.
Thank you, Chair, and I hope you're not getting tired of seeing my face after all these bills. But we stand on our testimony. We're in support of this. This is what the industry does need. We do have a significant amount of work going on, but the funding is running out and their need still exists. So we're in support and we're here for questions if necessary.
Thank you. And let's see, next we have the Phyllis Shimabukuro-Geiser, Chairman of the Board of Agriculture.
Mahalo, Chair and members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony. We support the measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau, Brian Miyamoto.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We'll stand on our written testimony in support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Let's see, Local Farm Coalition, Kendall Mitsuyoshi.
Aloha, Chair Takayama, Vice Chair Clark, and members of the committee. Kendall Matsuyoshi testifying on behalf of the Local Food Coalition. We will stand on our testimony in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Hawaii Farm to School Hui, Hawaii Public Health Institute, Liddy Bernal.
Aloha mai kako, Lydie Bernal, Hawaii Farm to School Hui Statewide Network Coordinator with Hawaii Public Health Institute. We strongly support this bill, which fulfills a key recommendation of a final report to the 2019 legislature from the P20 or Preschool through Post-Secondary Agriculture Education Working Group that was convened from 2015 to 2019. After the passage of Senate Resolution 80 in 2015, this agriculture education coordinator position is essential to carrying out the implementation plan that was laid out in the report, which focuses on teacher development, curricular integration, and increasing the number of trained paid agriculture educators at the state, regional, and school levels. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you very much. Let's see. We have written comments from the Department of Budget and Finance, along with testimony and support from, let's see, Center for Getting Things Started, Mala'ai, Hawaii Cattlemen's Council, Food Plus Policy, Hawaii Alliance for Progressive Action, a number of other organizations, and also I might mention individuals from Lanai High and Elementary School, along with Kauai High School. So have I missed anyone? Anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 1844? Seeing none, members, any questions?
I would love to testify on this measure.
I'm sorry, you are Tyler Levine? Did I miss you?
Okay. From the Hawaii Youth Food Council. I'm on the, I'm going to be submitting testimony or just sharing a brief testimony on behalf of the Hawaii Youth Food Council in support of this measure. Thank you. Okay, so currently our island civilization subsists on the wounds of depleted soil, polluted water, and climatic chaos. The living legacy of generations that have come before us are quickly vanishing with the loss of tradition and culture, while generations that are yet to set foot on this earth may not have a path to follow or a future to walk into. In order to rewrite this present narrative, we must reconnect to the roots of our very existence, which is the essence of life, being food, and thus food production. This coordinated position would expand the state's capacity to train educators in the field of agriculture and food systems so that more students will be exposed to agriculture education and will thus have the knowledge, opportunity, and capacity to advocate for sustainable food systems or even pursue professions in such fields. This would result in the expansion of local agriculture workforce and would therefore lead to increased food security and food justice. The rebirth of food citizenship would greatly reduce stress on the global food supply chain and encourage an evolution towards self-sufficient practices. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much, Tyler. And I apologize. I do notice that we got your testimony a little bit late. And just for the record, you are with the Hawaii Youth Food Council, correct?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Anyone else I missed? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing no questions, Dean Comerford, I will not ask you how much money you need because the bill specifies $300,000. So thank you all. Let's move on to the next bill, which is House Bill 2305, appropriating funds to Ctar to study diseases affecting the ornamental red ginger. Let's see, and first up, Dean Comerford.
Thank you, Chair. We are in support of this bill. This has been a nice collaboration between Ctar and Department of Agriculture, which has done also some outstanding work in this area. And so we'll stand on our testimony and available for questions.
Thank you. Let's see. Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We'll stand on a written testimony in support. I just wanted to add that this is a continuation, as you heard the Dean say, of the work being done by both Ctar and Department of Agriculture to help support our red ginger growers. I mean, it's spreading. Some have cut back. Some have decided to stop planting. We're just concerned that without additional resources, we may see the complete loss of this red ginger. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Let's see, we have written comments from the Department of Budget and Finance, along with testimony and support from a number of farm-related organizations, along with the Land Use Research Foundation of Hawaii. So at this point, have I missed anyone? Anyone else wishing to testify on House Bill 2305? Seeing none, members, questions? And Dean Comerford, I do need to ask you, because there's a blank amount specified in the bill, how much might be required for the Ctar to undertake this study?
Thank you, Chair. I'm starting to see the pattern here. So if I can provide you with a budget for the equipment and ginger by tomorrow, that would be okay?
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You bet.
Seeing no other questions, let's move on to the next bill, which is House Bill 2302, relating to the UHC Grant College Program, appropriating funds for the continued operation and disaster preparedness outreach efforts of Sea Grant. And let's see, first up, we have Dennis Wong, University of Hawaii.
Hello, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee. We stand by our written testimony in support. Today, I submitted testimony as a private citizen, but also Darren Lerner at the University of Hawaii Sea Grant submitted testimony from the University of Hawaii in support also. So I'm here to answer any questions related to my testimony or Dr. Darren Lerner's. Yeah.
Okay, so for the record, Dr. Lerner is not on this call, is that correct?
Yes, he's not on the call, but he submitted written testimony.
We've received that. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Next up, we have Luke Meyers, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. My name is Luke Meyers, the Administrator of the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. HIEMA stands in support of House Bill 2302 on our written testimony, and we're here for questions necessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have, let's see, written comments from Department of Budget and Finance, as well as written statements and support from Be Ready Manoa, Friends of Makakilo, and several individuals. And so I don't think I missed anyone. Anyone wishing to testify on House Bill 2302? Seeing none, members, any questions? And if not, I do have a question for you for Sea Grant, Mr. Wong. How much, there's a blank amount specified in the bill. How much money do you think would be needed for this outreach effort? I believe you muted.
Yes, for in 2017, we had a a bill passed in support of Sea Grant that was roughly $200,000 a year for 2-year support. And that's what we're asking again this year for a 2-year program, $200,000 a year. It's for education and outreach, research. It's for our communication office and also printing of the homeowners handbooks. The last bill that we had legislative support, we printed 30,000 copies of the books, and we're almost out of them right now. So it would also support that effort. Yeah.
Did I hear you correctly? Did you say $200,000 for 2 years, which would be $100,000 each year?
200,000 per year.
Per year. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We can only appropriate funds for the next fiscal year, so
Okay.
we'll take your estimate into consideration. Thank you. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, let's go to House Bill 2118 relating to the Hawaii State Cybersecurity Program administered by the Hawaii Office of Homeland Security. And first up, we have Jimmy Collins from the Office of Homeland Security.
Good afternoon, Chair Takayama, Vice Chair Clark, and members of the committee. I'm Jimmy Collins. I'm the acting administrator of the Hawaii Office of Homeland Security. The Hawaii Office of Homeland Security stands on our submitted testimony in support of HB 2118 as amended, and I'm available for any questions the committee may have.
Thank you. And we also have written testimony from the State Department of Defense, General Kenneth Hara in support. Anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2118? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, let's move on to House Bill 426, which is relating to tuition waivers for certain dependent children of war veterans, both survivors and those killed in action. So first we have Hei Okimoto from UH.
Good afternoon, Chair Takayama, Vice Chair Clark, and members of the committee. I am Hei Okimoto, Associate Vice President for Student Affairs for the University of Hawaii System. I stand on my written testimony and available to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you. Let's see. We also have written comments or written testimony in support from the State Department of Defense, Chamber of Commerce Military Affairs Council, and several individuals. So anyone I missed wishing to testify on House Bill 426? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, I do have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Representative Ganadin.
To Ms. Okamoto. Yeah, thank you so much. I also sit on the Corrections, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee, and I'm not sure if I saw your testimony before that committee, in which you explain, and I'm looking at it, that that UH does not believe this measure is necessary because you're in compliance with something that just went into effect barely a year ago. Is that right?
Correct. January of 2021.
Can you explain
Sure.
what's going on here?
Sure. So what those two federal legislation provides for are that if people apply, then we can apply so that it provides scholarships to cover tuition and fees for dependents who have parents who were killed during service or disabled.
So to clarify, would HB 426 just be kind of the state equivalent of this kind of post 9/11 GI Bill benefit, or is it an additional thing that we're offering? Like, how does this differentiate from this new federal law? Because I apologize, your testimony is new to me after having seen this just last week.
Not a problem at all. And so currently, what this legislation is asking the university that we provide tuition waivers for people who might fit into these categories. And basically, the federal legislation requires us to provide scholarships to those participants, or the federal government provides scholarships to the participants who fit into these, who are eligible for these benefits, meaning that if their parents were disabled or deceased during service, then the federal government will pay for their education.
So is the difference between a scholarship and a tuition waiver?
Yes.
So would the would it cover is the question?
Correct. Yes. And so actually what would happen is under these federal laws, the benefits include additional costs of living, costs of attendance. So a tuition waiver would would cover tuition for the student, but they would still have to pay fees, and they might have to pay for their own transportation, housing, living costs, etc. Under these benefits, they would be able to receive the cost of tuition, fees, as well as other costs of attendance that includes housing, food, and transportation, books.
So which is the broader and more comprehensive? The what?
The federal legislation. So the bills that the public law, would provide broader benefits
than this proposed state legislation.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you for the clarification.
Members, any other questions? If not, may I follow up with Ms. Okimono? You described the federal law as covering survivors of service members who were killed on or after September 11th, 2001. The bill, however, is a little bit more expansive in that it covers, in addition, children of 100% disabled veterans, as well as children of recipients of the Purple Heart who may have been wounded and survived. So am I correct in assuming that the federal law does not cover these categories of children?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the final bill on today's agenda, which is House Bill 2054, relating to authorizing the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation to establish the Hawaii Office for Naval Research Grant Program, reestablish that is. And first up, we have Len Higashi, HTDC.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Len Higashi for Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. We stand on our written testimony in support of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Mackay Ocean Engineering, Herman Kugler.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Herman Kugler, Vice President of Business Development from Mackay. I stand on my written testimony in support.
In support, thank you. Hawaii Gas, Julie Yunker.
Yes, hi. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Julie Yunker on behalf of Hawaii Gas. We stand on our written testimony in support of HB 2054. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. We have comments from the Department of the Budget and Finance, testimony in support from Hawaii State Energy Office, as well as Oceanet and one individual. So did I miss anyone? Anyone wishing to testify on House Bill 2054? Seeing none, members, do we have any questions? Seeing none and none from me. So let's recess. Reconvening the House Committee on Higher Education and Technology on our 2 p.m. agenda. First up, we had House Bill 1711. Chair's recommendation is to move this forward as a House draft with technical amendments, including in the report language. Should the Committee on Finance consider this measure, that the recommended amount requested by Ctar was $300,000. Members, any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair, would you please take the vote?
Thank you, Chair. Now voting on HB 1711. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair votes aye. Representative Bellotti.
Aye.
Representative Ganadin.
Aye.
Representative Gates. Excused. Representative Hashimoto. Excused. Representative Capella. Representative Ono. Excused. Noting the presence of Representative Hashimoto.
Aye.
Thank you. Representative Quinlan. Representative Woodson.
Aye.
Representative Yamane. Excused. Representative Okimoto.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill, House Bill 1717. I realize there are some uncertain questions from the Ctar as to how to implement this program. However, I'd like to keep the bill alive for further consideration. So we'd like to move this out as a House draft with certain technical, non-substantive amendments, along with report language, asking the Finance Committee to consider appropriating funds for the support of this program with an amount uncertain at this point, but which would be provided by the University of Hawaii. So members, any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Now voting on Bill HB 1717. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the absence of Representative Yamane and noting the presence of Representative Ono and Gates. Are there any members voting no? Are there any members voting with reservations? With all other members voting aye, the chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill, House Bill 1844. Recommendation is to move this forward as a House draft with technical, non-substantive amendments. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair.
Now voting on Bill HB 1844 with amendments. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the absence, let's see. Noting the presence of Representative Yamane.
Sorry, had technical difficulties.
I'm sorry?
He's present.
Yeah, I'm here, but I had technical
Oh, yeah.
difficulties, but I'm here now. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's see. Are there any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? With all other members voting aye, the chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Vice Chair, which bill was that? Is that?
HB 1844, correct?
Okay, let's move on to House Bill 2305, appropriating funds for Ctar to study diseases affecting red ginger. Chair's recommendation is to move it forward as a House draft with technical, non-substantive amendments. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Now voting on HB 2305, chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. And present, noting presence of all members. Are there any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? With all members voting aye, chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill, House Bill 2302, appropriating funds for disaster and preparedness outreach efforts. Chair's recommendation is to move this forward as is, and noting in the committee report that Sea Grant is requesting the amount of approximately $200,000 to implement the program, should the Committee on Finance consider this measure. Members, any questions, comments, concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Now voting on HB 2302, chair's recommendation is to pass as is, noting all members' presence. Are there any members voting no? Are there any members voting with reservations? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill is House Bill 2118 relating to cybersecurity. Chair's recommendation is to move this forward as is. Questions, comments, concerns from the members? If not, Vice Chair.
Now voting on HB 2118. Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Noting the presence of all members, are there any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill is House Bill 426 relating to tuition waivers. Chair's recommendation is to move this out as is, noting in the committee report the testimony from UH to the effect that there is a federal scholarship available for children of deceased military service personnel, but that this bill expands further to cover children of those who may have been wounded in action. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Now voting on HB 426. Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Noting the presence of all members, are there any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Final bill on the agenda, House Bill 2054 relating to Hawaii Office of Naval Research. Chair's recommendation is to move this forward as is. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Now voting on HB 2054. Chair's recommendation is to pass as is, noting the presence of all members. Are there any members voting no? Any members voting with reservations?
Reservations, please.
Representative Capella, thank you. Any others? With all other members voting aye, the chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Final announcement, members, thank you very much. A reminder that tomorrow at 11 a.m. we have a joint hearing with the Health Committee to consider several important measures, but we will not have a Higher Ed Committee hearing on Friday afternoon. So thank you very much. Have a nice long weekend. Thank you.